What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of Abandoned Auto. Today we are back with my 1981 Yamaha XS1100. So this bike is my first motorcycle. Picked it up from my uncle, and shout out to him. He sold this to me for a pretty good price, and I rode it up there in Minnesota when I was up there. If you guys watched the Ranger video, you saw that I brought it all the way back from Minnesota. But now that it's back in Texas, there's a couple little things that I need to do to it. But let's look at the bike. So this bike was pretty revolutionary when it came out in the 80s. I don't know much about motorcycles, but I do have a whole book on this motorcycle, and it was, from what I understand, to be pretty revolutionary when it came out in the 70s and 80s. But for what I'm doing with it, all I'm doing is kind of fixing up little things here and there that it needs. It's my first bike, so it's not gonna be perfect. It's not supposed to be perfect. I'm gonna learn on this bike, but it is an 1100cc bike. It is plenty big for what I need. But if you notice, since the last time I've shown this bike, I took the windshield off because it was busted, and I took the back seat off because it was torn. And I just love the way this bike looks without it. I've also taken the foot pegs off the side, the highway pegs. Funny story, I'm gonna go ahead and confess this right now. I did drop this bike already, so this is not from me, any of that. That's all just wear and tear of the bike. But I did drop this bike already, and when I did, it bent one of the highway pegs, and I was like, you know what? Might as well just take them off. I'll replace them eventually, but I might as well just take them off. So those are off. The battery is hanging down because this bike has had some electrical gremlins the past couple weeks. So I went to start this up to ride it before the weather got cold here in Texas, and it wouldn't start. So I thought maybe it's because it's been sitting for a couple weeks, so I threw it on a charger, tried to fire it up, and it fired up, but it ran just for a little bit, died, and I couldn't get it to start again. And so the battery was from 2016. So I thought, okay, it's probably the battery. Go ahead and replace it. So I replaced the battery, brand new battery from Advanced right down the road. Brand new battery, put it all back together, charged it, and it turned over slow. Just So I stuck back on the charger. And I thought, okay, well, maybe it's the starter could be an issue if it's dragging. Luckily, my grandpa had a load tester for the battery, and I did a load test on it, and it failed. If you would crank the battery over, brand new battery, if you crank it over, it would dip down to like 6 volts. Bad battery. So I took it back to Advance, got a new one, put it on, and this bike does, sure enough, fire up. But the problem is, I already knew that was an issue, but since digging into it even more, there's another issue at hand. So I've got this multimeter. We'll set it to DC volts, hook the battery up, got the negative there, hit it with the positive, complete circuit. So we're at 1179 with the key on, which is okay. So we're gonna crank it and watch the volts. I went ahead and cranked it. It's on choke right now. So we're at 1500 RPMs. At 1500 RPMs, we're looking at 13.4 volts. But the issue is, once it comes down to an idle off the choke, and I test it again, we're at 12.2, 12.1, 11.9. So it doesn't charge at idle, or it's not charging enough at idle. And so I don't have enough hands for this. Let me set this camera up real quick and I'll show you guys something. All right, so the camera's set up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, this is at idle, watch the multimeter at idle. But if I give it throttle, you can see that it's charging. So in order to fix that, it's one of two things. So this is a voltage regulator rectifier. this basically takes your voltage from the stator, which is down here, takes your voltage from the stator and regulates it so they're not getting 100% of the voltage to your battery at all times, because that would destroy your battery. So this is what that does. As you can tell, this is not a new piece. One of these new, unless you're getting something that's very cheaply made, that's not quality, well, even then those are like 20 bucks. But a good OEM replacement for the Yamaha for a voltage regulator, all I could find was like 150 bucks because one company made them. So I wasn't going to spend $150 on that, especially if I didn't know if it was this piece or this piece that I needed to replace. So this is your stator motor, and this is what kind of acts as your alternator on a motorcycle. So that spins around and everything gets a charge. Those wires go up through your bike. But this piece also, if I could find one, you can't find them new, but a remanufactured one for a Yamaha was going for like $250. So once again, I didn't want to spend $250 on this bike because I didn't know if that was the piece I needed to replace or if it was that piece I needed to replace. So I found this store on eBay that basically sells factory OEM stuff, but said that it was tested on both of these. This was a $30 piece, and this right here ran me $19.99. So for a grand total of less than like 70 bucks for shipping and everything, I think I did pretty good, because they both said tested, they both were functioning. So what I'm going to try to do is replace one of these at a time and see if it charges at idle, because I know it works with charging through RPM, but for some reason it doesn't want to charge at idle. And everything I could read, because once again, I'm new to this. This is my first bike I've owned. I am not a bike mechanic or anything like that. So everything I could read said that it could be a failing voltage regulator or it could be a failing stator. Because usually if this fails, you read high voltage all the time because it's sending all of the power from the stator to the regulator. So usually that's what happens, but sometimes if these fail, you can read low volts too, because it's not letting this power go to here. And then this, if it goes bad, then you're not going to have, or if it's going bad, then you're not going to have enough volts to charge the system without some assistance, i.e. with some RPM in the throttle. So I'm just going to go ahead and replace one of these at a time and see if I guess right on the first one or if I have to replace both. Hopefully, even if I have to replace both, that fixes our charging issue. So I'm going to set up the camera and we'll dig into it. And just like that, we've got the old stator off. That one wasn't too hard to do. Just tracing it from the outside cover, tracing the wires all the way up to the connectors, unplug them, trace everything back through, pull it out. So let's put this one back on. This is the one I just got from eBay. I don't know what they're supposed to look like on the inside. To me, it doesn't look bad. I know they said if it's like covered in oil and stuff, then it's terrible, but it doesn't really look any different than the one I got on eBay. But I don't know what I'm looking for. There may be something that's internally burnt or something on this. I don't know. So we're gonna go ahead and put the new one from eBay on. All right, we've got it back in. The new one, that is new to me. Stator's back in. I didn't put all of the clips back in, but I went ahead and plugged everything back up just to see if it works. I'll put the clips back in afterwards, I promise. But I just want to see if this actually fixes our issue. All right, we're going to turn the bike back on, and we're going to test for voltage. Right now with the key on, we're at 11.6 or 11.96. So now I'm going to start the bike, watch the voltage, and see if we're charging at idle. May need choke because this bike is cold-natured. See that, but it's still not charging at idle. So it's still not charging at idle. I'm gonna go ahead and put those clips back in, but now we're gonna be doing the voltage regulator because it's doing the same exact thing that one was doing. Nothing different at all. So still charges when you give it throttle, doesn't charge at idle. All right, we've got the old one off. It looks like this has been replaced before. I don't think that's OEM, or factory. I mean, it may be OEM, but I don't know. But you can see it's discolored. And so let's fire the bike up and test the voltage. All right, let's start the bike. Let it warm up real quick. Test the voltage. Still not charging at idle. Huh. So once again, proving to you guys that I don't really know a lot about motorcycles or anything like that. Apparently, especially older bikes, don't charge at idle. In order to test if it's charging, I need to test if it's charging between 3,000 and 5,000 RPMs. So I know for sure before I did all this other stuff, it wouldn't really charge until it got to higher RPMs. And even then, it would only go to like 12, 9, maybe 13, which is still low. I know it's supposed to be like 13.5-ish. So with all that being said, let's run this test again with the new parts on there. We should be seeing, like I've said before in the forums that I was reading, 13.5 to 14.5 if the stator and the regulator are working together. So I'm going to sit you guys back up on the camera. I'm going to start it back up, hold the RPMs about 3,000 to 5,000 RPMs, and see what we get on the multimeter. The bike's idling right now. I'm going to bring it up, and I'm going to have you guys watch for me. So that was a good sweep between 3,000, holding around 3,500, 4,000. and coming up to 5,000 RPMs. Let's try it one more time. I could look over and I could see it was charging above 13. So 13, 8, 9-ish. That seems pretty healthy. Before, if I could do that, or if I did that, it would only go up to like 12, 9, maybe 13. So I know it wasn't charging well. So let's put the seat back on, and I'm going to take it for a rip. I do apologize for the dog barking in the background. Not much I can do about it. I know it can probably be annoying, but I'm sorry. But also, go ahead and check out my Instagram at abandoned_auto. I will be posting pictures of this bike and my other projects if you've kept up with them on that Instagram. But yeah, I'm going to go put the seat back on and bring it out of this covered area. We'll take a good little look around the whole thing, and then I'm going to take it around the block because it's kind of cold to be riding right now. I mean, I really could if I wanted to, but I don't really have anywhere to go right now. So I'm going to take it around the block, maybe go up and down the street with it a little bit, just because I haven't been on the bike in probably 3 weeks now. But today is Monday as I'm recording this. Friday's supposed to be warm again, so I'm going to be taking this bike out Friday. I don't know where, but it's supposed to be in the 70s and it's supposed to be really nice. So I'll figure out somewhere to go on Friday and just go for a cruise. But I don't have a GoPro or anything like that, so I can't really film while I'm riding. But I did get this for Christmas, and this is one of the reasons why I really wanted to take the bike out, because I got the quad lock mount with the case and everything. So, and then I got riding gloves, all the stuff that a beginner gets whenever they first start riding. So I was super excited about it, and then the bike wouldn't run. So yeah, I'm gonna go try to enjoy that while I can, but let's get the seat on first. All right, so here it is, all put back together in the sun. So I'm just gonna take it for a ride, but here it is all back together. It's a good looking bike. So take it for a ride, and I'll get to you guys whenever I get back. Well, I think that's gonna do it for this video. I just went up and down the block a few times. It drives great. I forgot how much I like riding this thing. If you watch this and you don't have a motorcycle and you've thought about getting one, this is your sign. I went into this, I'd been on the back of my dad's motorcycle when I was like 6, 7, 8 years old, but I'd never actually ridden a dirt bike by myself, nothing like that. And this past summer, I did a 2-day course, and it was a lot easier than I expected. I mean, don't get me wrong, motorcycles are dangerous, but if it's something that you've been debating on doing, get your license. It's not that hard. It's a lot of fun. Even if that's the only step you take this year in 2025, get your motorcycle license, have fun, pick up something cheap to work on, even if it's a little dirt bike or something, and just ride. It's great. Make sure you have all of your protective gear. I mean, I've got that. I've got gloves. I have a hoodie on right now. Always riding long pants, but yeah, if this is something you've wanted to do, take this video as a sign to go ahead and do it. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for this video. Well, here we are. Motorcycle is all back together and everything, and runs real good. I just took it to the shop and got a rear tire put on it and got rear brake pads put on too because they were bad. But took it to the shop, got the tire put on, so now it's safe to drive. The biggest thing that I have left is I need to do the front fork seal. One of them's leaking, but other than that, I'm just gonna be driving this bike, and it's getting to be warm to where next couple days I'm gonna take this out instead of my other trucks. So I'm gonna be riding this, warm weather, love it. So if you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and check out the rest of these videos, and I'll see you in the next one.